Not exactly hidden. Morg Arkin's outright growling as he glares at the tiny cuttings and samples that are refusing to take root and actually start growing. His first attempt that ended up with a dark forest tree mushroom growing into this Lilb Tulelb mushroom tree as a parasite was his most successful attempt so far. There's something different about the basic axiom in the soil, which makes sense. Planets are different in more than just biological, gas, and mineral composition, to say nothing of temperatures and the velocity of things. And it seems transplanting things across worlds and maintaining its connection to a previous world is a hell of a lot easier said than done. Any luck out there? Onyx calls from the van, and Morg lets out an annoyed sigh as he ruffles his hair a little. I've found out about 20 ways to fail, so I figure if I run out of those, I might actually find something that works. They just don't want to take. The natural axiom of the world itself keeps washing away the sensation of the dark forest. I need to set up a bastion of dark forest axiom, which is way easier said than done, and I need to keep it up long enough for something to grow and then collapse the bastion in just the right way for it to harmonize with the local axiom and let the dark forest get a proper foothold. Every step of that is just about the biggest case of easier said than done, and I'm still stumbling on how to make that first little bastion for the bit to grow and then grow things into it while maintaining the I'm a dumbass. Morg Arkin rants. What? I only kept up with about a third of that and somehow you're the idiot? Jade asks as she looks up from her communicator. I don't have to do this alone, Morg Arkin states. The humans are not only sorcerers, but they've been encouraging other sorcerers to be part of the village as well. Well spotted, Brinchar notes as he's suddenly there with his hand on Morg Arkin's shoulder. Oh my, that is a heady, earthy scent. The rain really does bring out a beauty all its own, doesn't it? It does. Do you have any advice? Morg Arkin asks the older and much more infamous sorcerer. I do, however. Brinchar begins to answer before his attention is pulled to the left. What's wrong? It could be nothing, but I think I spotted a drone, Brinchar states. A drone? A small one, not an attack drone. Is this area well monitored for things like mushroom growth and poaching? Brinchar asks, and Morg Arkin looks concerned. You think we've been found? Magikemka asks. I think you've been found, Brinchar replies calmly. Shit, that was quick. Onyx notes as she leans out of the air van. She then ducks back in and hops onto a communicator. People, our little ruse didn't get everyone. We've got eyes on us in the form of a drone. I have no clue how many are coming, but people are coming. Confirmed, Litha replies from the other end. Is the teleportation beacon clear? Clear as crystal, Onyx replies. All right, we're sending some backup. Stand by. Litha states, and shortly afterwards there's a swell of energy, and both Tang and Bike emerge from the back of the van. Tang is already assembling his sniper rifle, and Bike has an advanced control collar that feeds him the information in holograms in front of his face, and increases the range and power of his output command implant by numerous orders of magnitude. Just two? Magikemka asks. Little lady, we're overkill, Bike says before he puts on a visor and has it enhance his vision. You were right to be paranoid. That's an observation drone. It looks like it's got advanced thermal imaging on it too. Tang gets set up. We've got company on the way. Right? Thermal shield it is. Tang notes as he fiddles with his armor and is suddenly covered in a slight axiom film. This is going to be tricky for sniping. There are 2 clear levels and a lot of sub-levels with all the mushroom caps. No matter where I set up, there's going to be obstructed sight. Sync your visor with mine, I'll spot for you, Bike tells him, and Tang slips on his own visor before walking out into the rain with the large weapon. All right, he's going to need a minute at most before he starts raining hell from a hidden spot. If you guys are going to do something, I advise you to get it done now in the calm before the storm. That's not happening. What we're doing is something that's never been done before, and we don't know how to do it proper. No time like the present then, Bike replies as he turns and focuses his control array on the distant drone. It takes a few moments to get through it, and his eyebrow goes up. Interesting. What is it? Brinchar asks. The drone has already been hacked, and oh, that's just rude. There's a virus inserted into its system and trying to overload whatever sends the drone commands while also sending another copy of the information to a party labeled Sliced Ya 1. Sliced Ya 1 is clearly the hacker, and I'm taking this virus as my own. If I can get my hands on her notes, it should be interesting. What about the drone itself? Does it have a legal owner? Morgarkin presses. If the drone has been hacked by an outside party, then two groups outside of the Chainbreakers and Sorcerers know where they are. Owner registry is Kitty Jez, meaning a woman of feline descent bought it when she was young. Bike replies, then shrugs. Or it was stolen from the poor girl. Or bought second-hand after she sold it to get some Ball of Deluxe yarn or something. Doesn't matter. Usernames are kinda useless. I use Cycle in half of mine, and it at the most hints at a nickname I got for saying something stupid once. This is going to need more than just us, and the more Apuk added in the better, Brinchar states. The other sorcerers are more reclusive than you or I and have been actively avoiding the village. I think it's time we made them answer. I've promised Magi Kemka protection. I can't just... Then don't. I will speak to the others. They clearly want to see results before committing themselves, but this is something worth exposure. Excuse me for a few minutes, Brinchar says before vanishing in a woodwalk. Oh, wow. Morg Arkin breathes out as he fully takes in the implications of what's about to happen. Something wrong? Bike asks as he starts getting feedback from the observation satellites in orbit. He lets out a huff before sending the information on the approaching vehicles to Tang, who sends an acknowledgement, and they begin designating the target's IDs. This is big. Sorcerers generally live quiet and alone, but are almost always connected to big people. Not all of them, but enough that this is going to get the attention of more than half the battle princesses out there and a huge chunk of the nobility of Serbo. What we do today will be known all over 2 worlds at least by tomorrow. Morgarkun states and Bike nods. Nervous? Bike asks with a grin. Terrified. Gotta work anyways. Morg remarks with a much more pained grin. Still, I need to get this figured out one way or another. Then get started. We have contacts, Bike says as he goes through all the serial numbers of the approaching vehicles. He switches the channel so every chainbreaker can hear him. 6 in total, all of them registered one way or another to bounty hunter teams. Although there are only 4 teams, as one of them uses 3 vehicles, all of them up-armed and armored civilian trucks, meaning they've got a huge team, a team of huge people or some really big toys. One group has a refurbished police cruiser. They're fully registered as locals and have a few drug busts on crime bosses that were here to lay low. A 4-woman team, all a puck, no battle princesses, but all of them skilled and long in the tooth for the job, meaning dangerous. One group has a number of fairly small infractions against them, mostly drunk and disorderly, hacking and public disturbance. Thrill seekers, I think. Last group is an 8-woman team. From the looks of it, they were in the area for provisions before the bounty hit, and they suddenly extended their stay by a few weeks to hunt. Copy that. Do you need reinforcement? Litha asks over the comm. Channel. Negative. Boss lady, our hack was hacked. I told you I needed another few weeks to really tighten up the firewalls on the new toys. The head communications officer states, and there's a grunt of acknowledgement from the much larger head of the team. That she and her entire setup could fit in the woman's lap was a testament to how much she towered. It doesn't matter. Standard procedure. Payload and sweep. She orders and the smaller woman gulps. Boss, the area was only thermally swept. If we're not sure, launch the payload. Yes, boss. Morg Arkun and Maggie Kemka both hit the ground as the hovering van does so as well. While people struggle to breathe, Bike pulls out his emergency backup radio and tunes it quick. Tang, we just got nulled, I repeat. Enemy using null weapons. I know, my scope just flickered bad, I'm just out of the outer edge of it though. How far are you? 75 meters out, 20 and change up. Okay then, we're doing this old school. Eyes open, buddy. Bike responds as he begins to pull out the pieces of his rifle and assemble them. No. Morg Arkun groans as he crawls to his samples. The bitch. They wiped the trace of the forest. It's just fucking plants now. Kid, I know it looks bad. Looks bad. We went from a possible way to win to no way in hell. This is worse than bad. Morg snaps as Magi gasps and shivers. Her inner fire is nothing more than a few bare sparks, and she's never felt so cold in her life. If you've already given up, just say so. I'm in it to win it, even if it's impossible. Bike says coldly, and Morg goes still for a moment. Then he groans as he slowly starts to rise, joints creaking and muscles screaming as the energy they've used to keep themselves alive and active are just not available. Good man. What can I do? Morg asks, and Bike nods. Can you use a pistol? Never even touched one. Morg replies, and Bike nods before pulling out a knife and presenting it by the handle to him. Then use this, Bike tells him before a blast cuts off the sound of rain. There's a shrieking sound as an air van starts to slowly fall from the sky. One of its major anti-gravity engines having been pierced by an impeccably fired bullet, and its compromised systems means it just doesn't have enough lift to stay above the mushroom canopy. But there are still two more swooping in. They're coated in tritite and containing some kind of regulated axiom flow. Cut off from the world as one of the surviving two lands on top of their air van, and the other descends towards them in person. Bike hurls a toy that he rarely gets to use and shreds the underside of that particular air van. It loses all lift on one side and is reduced to a fraction on the other, causing it to careen out of control as it falls. It slams into the cap of the mushroom and crashes through to land hard on the opposite side. Bike then turns as his advanced technology starts reactivating, and the null is being fought off and dissipated by the local axiom. He sights his rifle at the obvious doors on the large air van and simply waits to see if anyone's willing to come out. Well? Morg demands as he can feel his inner fire ignite once more and the sensation of the woods return to him. Well? You come all this way here and you don't even have the courtesy to say hello? How rude, Bike says with a satisfied grin as he feels his implant start to come to life once more, and he can't help but notice that Onyx and Jade have plasma weapons warming up in their van.